Yeah, so my question is, so I'm looking at the curriculum for Wales and I'm looking at the LNF, but then I'm also looking at the progression steps, the what matters statements.
Yeah.
How do I differentiate between those two?
So say you're writing a blog post on, I don't know, digital confidence, for example. Within that, you could write about the what matters statements, which might relate to what you're talking about. You might want to write about, the progression steps, so maybe something that you saw. Depends on your blog post is really. How did you want to use it?
I don't know. I was looking through it and I was just getting a bit confused as to, like, when it comes to planning, do they look at both, or is like one step for like the year group, or I just couldn't make sense of it.
Yeah. So the what matters statements are what matters within the areas of learning and experience. So as a teacher, you need to think about, right, within my year, I need to cover these. They're quite broad steps. So you'd start with something like that as a broad step. So when you're doing your long-term planning, if you think back to childhood ed, when you're doing that long-term planning, you probably start off with the what matters statements and think about what topics and things.
Right, okay.
Then as you get down to like the more medium term and like the short-term planning, that's when you're going to go to things like the LNF, the DCF.
Right, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. But you're always going to be keeping in mind as well, like the 4 purposes. You'll also be thinking about, there's what matter statements. So you might be doing something in science, for example, and I don't know, within that, you might be going off track. It could be a really cross-curricular project. And some of the children might be really interested in following this one thing, which would be great. But then you look at the what matters statement and think, yeah, that doesn't really fit. So sometimes it can be used to just direct the course of work, if that makes a bit more sense.
Yeah, no, that's much better. Thank you.
Cool. But yeah, definitely use it. I mean, what we're hoping to see is not that you have to say every point. You don't have to cross-reference with, the DCF, the LNF, the what matters statements. You should just have like a good sprinkling throughout. So I don't know, again, you might be talking about the stop motion animation, and you might say, well, this relates to the LNF, and you might pull a few bits through, and then you might relate that again to the what matters statements. You may not. I mean, you might think, oh, I'll talk about the what matters statements in a few paragraphs time. So I would just keep like a strategic sort of eye on mentioning on all those things would be good. But definitely as we come towards the end of year 1 now, you should be, in all the things that you're saying, look to support with academic sources, not, as I've looked at some of the feedback from, what was your last module? Was that with Meris? Was the last module with Meris? Or was it with
Chantal? No, it was with Chantal.
I think it was Meris as I was moderating some of the work, and obviously not for everyone, but quite a lot of students were still using just web sources. So obviously start to use like every week. Let me just share my screen. Again, there's no real excuse to not be. So on here, you can see there's the weekly reading tasks. So if you're stuck, definitely start here. So like look at your reading tasks, look through here. They've been put in there because they fit what we're doing. So, definitely all the Joe Bowler stuff when you're doing your numeracy, there's stuff in there that if you're struggling to support with stuff that you can't find online, they're here. Like, we've been nice. We've given you a lot of resources here. So, as you can see. Some people have emailed me about, how do you go towards, like, some people have been getting like regular 50s, 60s. They want to make that step towards the first. So I always say, like, the first thing you need to do is, like I was saying yesterday, tattoo this on your leg. Like so many students, like my personal tutor group, I was chatting to them. I said, have you looked at the criteria? And they just say, no. I don't know why. This is what we give you marks for. So straight away in section A, you need to make sure you understand the key concepts. So where will you get the key concepts from? Do you think? Where will you get the key concepts related to section A? So all the stuff to do with digital, where will you get that from?
from your resources and from your lectures, I guess.
Yeah. So
Work on that.
Yeah, the curriculum as well. So the curriculum tells you what the expectations, and then you need to reflect on that critically. So for example, say you're doing section A, let's have a look at one of the examples here. Let's just say you did an easy one, I think, would be number 1. How can teachers use technology effectively in the primary classroom? So within that, you can talk about, well, they can use it effectively, and you can give examples from what we've done in uni. You could talk about, well, what you've seen on placement. So you could talk about the benefits and how you can use it effectively, but you could also then, you need to provide that balance and be critical and say, well, actually, technology is good, but actually there's these barriers to learning. So it's distracting, some pupils can't afford it, a barrier to learning. They may not be able to do the homework, they don't have resources at home, they may not have the connectivity. So all those things, you've got to think about providing a balanced argument. And again, the key concepts they're discussed, you need to make sure you watch all the lectures, because again, looking on Moodle, and I know that a lot of you have got full-time jobs and stuff, and most of you have said, I'm going to catch up in Easter, but do that. It's so obvious when we mark the work, when people just haven't watched the lectures. So we spend a long time putting those resources together. You'll get the key concepts from there. So use books, journals, government documents, curriculum. There's loads on there. You won't get good marks. You'll probably struggle to pass by just putting copy and pasting from Google. I'm not saying you guys do that, but I've seen a lot of examples of that. You don't need to do that. And definitely in year 2, you're going to see that's where people are going to struggle. You have to engage with the reading, especially in year 2. So same thing for the numeracy. I'll come back to section C in a second. Quite a lot of people have been emailing me about the quality of writing. Don't do bullet points. It's still, you wouldn't use bullet points in an essay. So don't do it in this. You want to think of it really as an essay, but supporting with academic sources and multimedia. And again, I have to say it every year, you don't need to address me. You don't say, hi, Nick, or Nick, I've done this today. Like, don't do that. And obviously, it still needs to be that academic tone. So you can use the first person, because it's a bit weird to say, if you're reflecting on your placement, say the researcher thought this, you can use the first person, that's absolutely fine. But as well, and again, it's hard because it's 3,000 words. Share with each other. One of the main reasons people don't get 10 is because it doesn't make sense. You need to make sure, like the easiest thing in the world, so many people just hand it in and they don't edit. They just chuck it in. They haven't read it over. They've chunked it and it just doesn't make sense to us. It might make sense to you in your mind, but actually, is that what's on the paper? And that is really where people have missed the opportunities to get first, because they don't make sense. Some of them is just not clear. So make sure you do that. Multimedia, as I said before, they need to be in sections A, B, and C. So make sure, you've got pictures. We said yesterday, Dan gave that example. If you can't take pictures in the placement, which I know some of you can't, well, just get them offline, or, so say, for example, you're talking about in a nursery setting. Well, I'm sure you can get nursery setting pictures if you don't get your exact ones from placement. And this one here about engagement, again, I know some people haven't been able to attend because of illness or they've been working or whatever. But again, I will be looking to see what activities you've engaged with. So some people have been away and they've still continued to do things, which is what we're looking to do. And this, again, is just building your experience for your CV. So definitely engage with this. I'll stop there. Any questions for any of that? It's funny, I'm seeing people have come into the call, gone, nah, I'm not up for this, and gone. There's new people coming in. Any questions from the new people who have come in? If this isn't helpful, I can move on to other stuff. I was going to talk about next how you upload the assessment, but any questions from any of that? Anything that would be useful for any of you lot here?
Hi, sorry, Nick. I'm on the train, so my connection might come off a bit.
No worries.
But, my question was about how to upload it, because I'm not quite sure even how to create the account, to be honest with you.
Cool. I'll go for that now. No worries. All of this is recorded. It's on the assessment page. I get that probably, the way I probably work is that I'd start to think about the assessment in the last week, which you all are doing now. So that's why I'm having this drop in today, because, you know, you probably haven't been thinking about it.
I think my Tim B blogs on like Word documents first. Can I transfer it onto it?
Yes, that is exactly what I was saying to do. So the university policy is, if you just use the blog, you could potentially lose it. It's a web browser. I know some schools that have lost all their work. Obviously, we're doing this because you want to be teachers. You'll be managing a blog probably if you're going to be a teacher, and you will be using Adobe. It hasn't happened to any of my students, but it can happen. So definitely do what Caitlin's done. Support all your work. I would just do it on a Word document and then just transfer it across. It is annoying and it can take time, but if you lose all your work, the university policy is you're not covered. You will just lose that work, and potentially, if it happens just before sign-in or submission date, there's nothing you can do. So I'll go through that now, Caitlin. So if you're ready to submit, I'll tell you what, you didn't know how to do your blog either, did you? So you need to search for Adobe Cloud Express. Don't go on the app. I've done a video about this as well. It's on the assessment page. So if this isn't clear, watch that. So this is Adobe Creative Cloud Express. It's amazing. I use this a lot. It used to be called Adobe Spark, if you've ever used that. It's brilliant. So there's loads of stuff on here. I know there's some influencers in this group. You'll be loving the Instagram stories, the posts, there's Facebook stuff. As a teacher, you probably, or I used to use it a lot, because you can make posters and stuff. You can make resources, you can make worksheets. There's loads of stuff you can do on it. GIFs, all sorts. That's all on the home page. What we're using is this plus. We're using something called the web page. So you've got all these down here. This is all free. So this is your blog. This is what it looks like so far. You've obviously just put in AOLE. I hate doing this whenever everyone's watching. And then you can go Nick's blog, or whatever you're going to call it. Some people last year did a video to start. So they did a little video recording saying, hello, welcome to my blog. In section A, I'll be talking about. In section B, I'll be talking about. In section C, I'll be talking about. You could do a Voki, you could do Eclipse, you could do whatever. The more multimedia you include, the better. So you could include pictures, you could include your own pictures, you could include these from the stock. Obviously, more multimedia you include, the better. You should all be getting 10 marks for this. Like, hang on, it's more than that. You should be getting full marks anyway. Anyone that just include text is crazy, because you've done stuff in the sessions, you've done stuff in the module, you should get marks for it. So when you can include all these different things, a photo obviously is a photo, text is what you'll primarily be using. Buttons are if you've got a link to something. So most of you have, like for your stop motion animation, you've saved that to YouTube, you drop the link in here as a button, or you drop it in as a video. You can play around with the format of it and how it looks. You don't get any marks for how it looks, but I know some of you are fully OCD like me, and you want to have like a photo grid, a glide show. Definitely for your placement, if you've got loads of pictures, these photo grids and glide shows are nice. Have a play around with them, and you can have a split layout as well. Again, you don't get marks for it, but it just looks nice. So you need one blog, and then you need the 3 sections. You've got section A, section B, section C. Do not be that person who submits like 3 blogs. We had somebody this year do that, and they lost part of their blog. They didn't record the link, it was gone. So they actually failed that part of the assignment. Just do one blog, and then when you're ready, you'll go to preview so you can see what it looks like. And then when you're ready, you'll go to share, which is at the top here, and then you go to publish and share link. Obviously put your name, you need to choose a category. You'll create a link. I'm not going to do that for mine, but you'll get this URL. You copy and paste the URL, and then come back to the assessment page. You then go to this pro forma document. Am I going too fast? Is this all right? Somebody say yes or no. You follow?
No, you're fine.
Cool. Okay. Even on a train, that's good. So this document here, you click on there. It's a Word document. So on there, fill this out in detail, please. Obviously, you need to put your student name, you need to put your student number, put your blog to post title. So what are you doing in section A? What are you doing in section B? What reflective cycle have you used for section C? You need to put your post, your URL link there. You have to include that, and you've got to check it works. Loads of people, this was 2 years ago now, they chucked their link in, they went on holiday, and then the links weren't working. We couldn't get hold of them. Luckily, after a load of emails and phone calls, we got hold of them, but we don't want to be doing that this summer. So please make sure your link works. That's a massive plea from me. You need to reflect, think about what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, where could you improve, and that's it. And I would suggest you copy and paste your text here. So again, it's just covering all bases. It's there. You know, you don't have to worry about pictures. Just in case anything goes wrong, it's all there, and we don't have to be worrying about chasing you. You could just do screenshots and put them in. You could also dump your timesheets here as well, and you upload that. So if you're ready to do that, you come back to the submission portal. If you're English medium, you come to here. So you obviously submit that. Now, when I click this link, it's going to be different because I'm the teacher, you guys are the student. You will just upload the pro forma document and your timesheets. That's all you need to do. And then Welsh medium is there. Don't, if you're English medium, go to the Welsh medium OBS. Okay. Go back. And that's it. And then as you can see on here, there's examples there. There's a model structure to a blog. So I go through that in section B. There's loads of examples for what a blog can look like. So have a look through those. Section C, so important. I said this yesterday. For section C, this is your placement reflection. You have to choose a model of reflection. So just choose one of these. I definitely suggest you use Gibbs. So say for your placement, Caitlin, where did you go on placement?
Whitchurch.
Whitchurch. Oh, of course you did. Yeah. So you'd say, I am using the Gibbs reflective cycle. You need to say that in your introduction. Say, this is my placement reflection. I'm going to be using the Gibbs reflective cycle. You need to cite him. Please do that. If you're going to use one of these, you have to cite which ones they are. There's all these links here. Use them, how you use it. We will, as a teacher, you will be using a reflective cycle throughout your practice. So it's really important you get used to using these. But this is the easiest, I think, because you can just lay it out. You can put a subheading description. So you can describe the settings. You can say Whitchurch is an SRB, how many pupils are in there. You could just copy and paste a bit of that from their website or the Estin website and just describe, you know, what classes did you work with, what experience did you gain. You then separate your feelings. So how did you feel about going in there before? How did you feel about it when you left? You have to evaluate. So choose an experience. You could choose a good one or a bad one and evaluate that. Use theory. You then need to make some analysis. So you need to make sense of that situation. How do they link to the curriculum? Why did they do it? And then you have a conclusion. So you can do that with, I would suggest you just do it with one thing that you observed. Some of you have emailed me and said, can I do it with two? That's fine. Really important, again, some people just miss this section out. Don't do this. You have to make sure you do the action plan. So the action plan, for example, if you're Caitlin, is a PRU. You may have never thought about working in a PRU, but because we forced you to do it, you might think that, oh, I didn't even realize this existed. So my action plan now, I want to work in a PRU. I'm going to meet with careers. I'm going to make sure in my assignments and in my dissertation, I start to focus on, you know, looking at what behavior management is, what PRUs are, alternative provisions, those sort of things. So the action plan is putting your future, you're starting to think about your future and what you're going to do as you work up towards your graduation. It might be that you absolutely hated where you were on your placement, and that's fine. And you're dead set that, oh, I definitely want to be a primary teacher. I cannot work with secondary. I can't work with those sleeping kids in nursery, you know, whatever. But in the action plan, you've got to think about, well, what steps are you going to take to make that a reality? So if you're going to be a teacher, what are you going to do? If you're not going to be a teacher, what are you going to do? It's really important you do that. Does that make sense?
Is that just all for section C?
That's section C, yeah.
Sorry, I've only got like half of what you said because of connection. But...
I've recorded it. Don't worry, it's all good.
Okay, that's good.
And I have, like, all of this is recorded as well. If you watch the first lecture, I go through exactly how you can do it. So again, over Easter, just watch some of the lectures, rewatch some of the lectures. It's pretty self-explanatory, and everything you need is in the assessment page. Anything from there, Courtney, Dan, Sam, Dan, anything you wanted to go over?
Just with the Voki, I was trying to see if I could put a video on, but it's not letting me do it. So is it okay to just put a link on it, like use the button?
Yeah.
Isn't it? Because I was thinking
the other thing
just using it as like an introduction part, but it's not that I can't put the video.
The other thing to do is, you know, it's all about digital competence. So it's overcoming problems. Even if you just filmed the Voki and then dropped the film in, that's absolutely fine. Even if you did screen record, whatever works. I know for some of the stop motion animation groups, they were stressing because they couldn't get it off the iPad. So in the end, they just, with their phone, just filmed the video, and that's fine. It's absolutely fine. You know,
cool.
Overcoming problems. So what else can I talk to you about there? Yeah, the biggest thing is just, again, from examples from last year, just people forgot to upload the activities from last year. Like, you've all done it. The mad thing is you've made these resources, the online e-learning stuff for Palmerston. You've made the stuff for foundation phase, put them in. Like, it's crazy. You've made them, put them in, reflect on them, use the marking criteria. Anything else I was going to talk about? And then just academic sources. The main reason that people fail this module is, one, they haven't engaged and they just don't know what's going on, and two, just haven't used academic sources. So just make sure, look at my lectures, look at the seminars, there's loads in there. You can use them, but then if you want to get firsts and 2-1s, start to do your own reading. So look at my reading list, find the books, look at the author's reading list, and start to read a bit wider. That's how you're going to get better marks. I wanted to share this for you as well. This will be sent to you at the end of the week. It's just what you guys can do in the summer. So just have a look at that. It's only a very short recording, but on there there's examples of like work experience, some of the projects we've got coming up. We've got preferred teaching agencies you could go with. People have been asking about online courses. So it's just a presentation where everything is in one place. Loads of questions, loads of videos about PGCE, so they're all there. I'm flying for all this, but you'll have this later on this week. Social media, that sort of thing. And as well, just to flag up, obviously look at emails. Biggest players, obviously take a break. It's been a crazy year for us and you. Definitely have a break, but keep an eye on emails, because we will be sending the emails through of projects that are going on. Like, I've got this yoga project. I've got schools coming in. Some of you have signed up already. The June 9th, the school that came in yesterday, they're going to be one of the schools we're working with. We're going to be doing yoga with them. I've just spoken to a school in Barry. We're going to be doing some yoga on the beach, depending on the weather, which would be really cool. More details will follow. And I spoke to last week a guy who runs the NIAC, the athletics track. Our schools in the local area come to NIAC to do their sports days, and our students always would support it. Obviously, with COVID, it's the first year of kids coming back in. So again, keep an eye on emails, because I've sent your emails through. He will be emailing you about that. Any questions about summer or finish?
Just got one question, Nick, from Katie. She's saying, obviously, she apologises for not being able to make the sessions this week, but she's apparently dying. She just sent me a voice recording. She sounds bunged up and, yeah, not great at all.
That's fine.
She's saying that, obviously, before you've mentioned that to use a Voki on our blogs. Is there anything else that we have to include, or is it just a case of include everything we can?
Yeah, not that you have to include a Voki. A Voki is an example. So obviously we're trying to promote digital competence. Use whatever you want. I know Hadel's group had the funny movie maker, and they made that their mouth you know, use whatever. I'm encouraging you guys to just use as much multimedia as you can. So whether it's a Voki, whether it's something you like using, TikTok, Snapchat, whatever, you're going to get marks for it, because we're just trying to get you to use digital competence. I know some of you have said, oh, I hate digital competence, but I've just seen you develop just in the short time of 4 weeks. Whereas before you'd be like, oh, Nick, I don't know what to do here. And you're just going for it.
Okay, cool. Thank you. I'll pass it on.
All right. And tell, I've already emailed about, you know, some people are genuinely ill, and that's absolutely fine. But there are some who just choose not to come, which is crazy because we're working with schools. Go on, Dan.
My question was about, so with like section A and section B, I know like in section C we have to do the reflection of like how we found the placement.
Yeah.
But in section A and section B, can like we reflect on how we like originally found like digital competency or numeracy?
Yeah.
And then like reflect on how the skills have developed?
Yeah.
Or does it just have to be like the academic sources in it?
No, I definitely have a blend there. That's a really good question. So yeah, we'd expect to see in there, would it be helpful? I've got this Jamboard. Would it be helpful to do a bit of a Jamboard with you now, how I would structure an answer? You don't have to, but I could.
Yeah, you can do. It'll be helpful for me anyway.
Okay. I have recorded one of these, but again, this may be useful, may not. Just to answer your question, Dan. So I would choose that one. So how can teachers use technology effectively in the primary classroom? You could start your introduction, or you could mention somewhere in there that you could talk about, you know, why we have to use technology. You could say about the expectations from the curriculum. You've got to use it in a cross-curricular way. But then you could say, well, actually, it depends. And you can talk about the studies that I mentioned in the lectures. It really depends on the teacher's confidence, because one of the main reasons technology is not used in the primary classroom is due to teacher confidence. They just don't want to mess it up. They don't want the children to see them not mastering this thing. You know, they're more than efficient in maths and English, but then when it comes to technology, they don't want to, for example, show learners that they're not very good at anything. So it could be, and there's research to support that. So you could say, in my own experience, I'm not very confident with technology, which links to this study, and then you go into your blog post in that way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
But yeah, bring in your own experience, definitely. You know, you can reflect, that's absolutely fine. But what we don't want is just like a captain's log, like, I don't know, in today's session, we made this stop motion animation. We did this, and this. I know, because I was there. Instead, you need to talk about, well, we did this because it links to this part of the curriculum, and because it's cross-curricular, and because it evokes these skills, for example. If I did this Jamboard thing, would you prefer, I've put down there a section B. We can do section A if it's more helpful. Which one would be more helpful for people? Section A or section B?
B for me. Maybe that's just my opinion. So.
Who's saying that?
Me, Caitlin.
What did you say? You said section B.
Yeah.
Cool. We'll go section B. I have recorded one of these. Oh, it is section B. So maybe we do. So if you watch that, Caitlin, there, section B.
Yeah.
Maybe we do. Let's do this one because Dan was already talking about it instead.
Yeah, it's fine.
So then you'll have both. All right, so say you're going to tackle this one. So you're going to do digital competence. How can teachers use technology effectively in the primary classroom? Well, I'd start with, you have to have an introduction. You need to signpost. You need to say what you're going to cover. So that is a good example of like academic tones. You can start and say, in this blog post, I'm going to be talking about da, 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 da. What comes next? What else could you talk about? As Dan said here, your own confidence with tech.
Would you include teacher confidence, like you said?
Yeah,
and the sort of, yeah.
So you can see here, so say that's our intro here. You have the curriculum expectations, you could have stats as well. Always a good one is stats. So you could talk about children have phones, for example, children are using tech at home. So you're setting the scene. So in your intro, your job is to set the scene, to say that, you know, how can teachers use effectively? You're almost saying, well, firstly, why do we need to use it? And then you could start to provide some examples of how you can use it. So how can teachers use it effectively? Any examples?
ICT lessons, maybe the games and stuff on the iPads.
Yeah. You could talk about as well, like the stuff that we did in uni. So you could talk about how can you use it effectively. You could look through lectures, you could look through seminars, you could look for examples there. You could look at the DCF, which actually provides examples. You could have a go at some of them yourself. You could also, so you've got to make sure that you provide this balance. So I'm going to put in there balance. So you need to make sure you talk about how actually tech isn't used. Did any of you see on your placement, and you don't have to name schools, anything here, but did anyone see where technology wasn't used effectively?
Yeah, my placement.
Yeah,
What happened?
sorry, go ahead.
Go on,
Mark.
Kate.
And they were meant to be on Teach Monster to read, but then there was some that was just like playing on YouTube and wouldn't give the iPad back when the lesson was over.
Yeah. Yeah. Go on, Dan.
They don't use it.
Okay, yeah, they just don't use it, yeah. They just sit in the corner.
No, it's a preschool, so they do activities and things that are sort of semi-linked to what they're doing in school or to school life. But they believe that they get enough technology at home, so they don't use it in the preschool.
And again, that is definitely worth mentioning. You could talk about there, I've just written there, screen time, bad for children. And the main thing to acknowledge is that tech isn't a silver bullet, as I say in the lectures. So don't, in this, definitely, I don't want to see people writing, oh, technology is the answer. Technology will solve everything, because it definitely doesn't. As you've seen yourselves, it's just when you're trying to present or you're trying to use stuff, and you've probably seen on placement technology going wrong. Technology is great for certain things. It's also really bad and can be a barrier to learning for other things as well. So reflect on your placement, think about stuff there. Okay, so you can start to see that you've got your intro, you've got your positives, so how technology can be used effectively, tech used effectively. So that's sort of over here. And then you've got your balance where you're saying that technology isn't that good. How would you end your blog post for this?
Maybe reflect on like how your experience has changed from like bad to good.
Awesome. Yeah.
And like what's done that for you. So like, you know, the seminars, the lectures have helped kind of thing.
Yeah, that'd be really good. So you could have your own reflection there. And then you'd have, for all of your blog posts, have a conclusion. So your conclusion, don't include anything new. So just make sure you summarize everything. So you only summarize stuff that you've said. Don't introduce new points. There's nothing worse than when you're trying to mark some work. When someone says, oh, and there's this, and there's this. It just shows a really bad academic tone. It shows a bad structure. If you want to add a new point, make sure it goes in the main body. So I'd mainly have your structure as, here, structure is intro. God, let's go back to that one. Main body, where you're going to have, you know, I don't know, 4 paragraphs or 4 sections or whatever, and then you're going to have a conclusion. And then use that throughout, really. It may be in section B that you have more sections to talk about, and maybe you have less, but there's roughly, you should have an intro, whether you do that with a video or not, it's up to you. You'd have your main body, what you're going to talk about, positives, minuses, like that balance, and then a conclusion at the end. That's really important. You have to include your reference lists. And again, it's so funny because a lot of year ones just make up references. A lot of, and the worst ones are the ones that make up references that they say that I've written. I know what I've written, so don't do that. So just make sure the references, we check your references. All the references are checked. Again, Turnitin is amazing. It's a system to see, it checks the references before we even do it. So just make sure the whole point of reference lists are that, we can trace them. We can have a look at them. We do look at them. And that's really important. And you'll know by year 2 that we do look at them. So I know that some people just think we don't. We have to, otherwise we won't get past Turnitin.
Do you want each?
Go on.
Sorry. Do you want each reference list after each blog? So say like blog A, then reference list, blog B, reference.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
no worries.
So do section A, and then reference list for section A. Then you go on to your second one. Again, what some people did really well. If you go back, let's go back to Creative Cloud. You could, for example, like use one of these to do like section A, and you've got a poster to say section A, and then write down what it's going to be. So and then you just save that as a picture. So again, use Creative Cloud Express to make things, maybe you've got like yesterday, if you go on to Twitter, I've got loads of pictures I've stuck up. So if you have a look on there, there's loads of pictures of you guys. Take them from there. You could put them together in Creative. Rather than just putting the picture up, obviously you'll get more marks if you put them into like a collage or a poster or whatever. So again, use this definitely, because again, it's giving you more digital skills. Any other questions that come up from that?
Can I just ask a question with regards to referencing, please?
Yeah.
I've got video clips and music from a show I went to see a couple of weeks ago. If I was to include that, how would I have to reference that, or anything?
We're being nice because it's year 1. You will in year 2, but in year 1, don't worry about referencing images. Don't worry about referencing like a YouTube video. You will have to do this in year 2. We're being nice. We're not.
That's right. It's my own music. I've recorded it from a show, so.
Yeah, in year 2 you'll have to. In year 1, the main thing we want you to focus on is just getting those academic sources. So just definitely for this module, just start to think, right, this is going to set me up now for year 2. Just go out and just go and find academic sources. If we just look onto Moodle, there's so many different things. Even if you just go on the reading and resources, there's so much stuff. I was chatting to somebody on email and they were saying, can I include podcasts? Yeah, definitely. Like don't just rely on podcasts, but in the reading and resources, there are podcasts. I've included podcasts. There's YouTube videos. Don't just rely on them, but you can see there's loads of different digital competence resources which are here. There's numeracy resources. So just have that blend. Use the curriculum documents, use journal articles, use books. I've heard loads of people having a strop saying, oh, I hate academic sources, I can't do it. If you are struggling, book a meeting with your personal tutor and we will show you. By year 2, if you're not starting to use academic sources, you're really going to struggle in year 2, and it doesn't need to be something you struggle with. I get that, and I didn't used to like referencing, but now most of my year 3s, most of my year 2s, they get it and they just use it. So if you are struggling, if you are in any way need any help, book a meeting with your personal tutor and we'll be more than happy to help, for sure.
Cool. Thanks, Nick.
Cool. Anything else? I've just seen, I got Alan Sugar in the background there. I'd rang the school this morning. The teacher and the head teacher were really blown away by just all the groups. They thought you guys were absolutely amazing. They actually thought you guys were on the PGC already, and they all were, they said you led the learning really well. And that's why they're coming back to do this yoga project on the 9th of June. So just well done. You know, we say enough negative stuff towards you. I think it's really important that we say some positive stuff, because you guys were brilliant yesterday. If there's any more questions, anything about summer, anything about retrievals, anything about year 2?
Just, I think one question came like a couple of days ago is, when are we going to get the marks for this assignment?
So you will get the marks 20 days from submission. Oh, I didn't mention, it is your birthday. You've been given an extra day. I checked with university admin. Because it's a bank holiday, we can't have submission dates on a bank holiday. I've changed all of the dates and everything. You definitely now will submit on the 3rd. So you've got an extra day.
Right, okay.
So
And it'll be 20 days from the 3rd.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and it's going to be tight for, if people need extensions and stuff, you need to tell me straight away, because that will be coming into the exam period, exam board. We do need these marks ideally to be before the exam board. So if people are thinking about extensions, they need to get them in and let me know ASAP, so we could let people know that as well, reps. Courtney, that was very formal. You got your hand up. Go on.
I was just wondering, know the examples that you've put on Moodle?
Yeah.
They've got like YouTube links. Is that their own videos, or is it actual YouTube links?
It's me. I've just recorded my screen and I've talked over them, and I've just said why it's good or why it's bad.
Right, okay.
So you should be able to access them, and you just, rather,
Okay.
because they're actual students' work, I can't just give you the link because, well, there's loads of reasons why, but yeah, I've just had to record the screen.
Wait, sorry, no, I meant that, like, do you want us to include YouTube links, or is it like their video that they put on YouTube? Sorry, do you
I don't know what you mean. Go on, say that again. I don't think I know what you mean.
So know that they've got all links throughout their blog.
Yeah.
Is that their videos that they put onto YouTube?
Right. Sorry.
Linked.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they made the stuff. So it's their animations. Some of them, like one of the examples, they're just talking about a Ken Robinson video that he saw. So you can use both. Obviously, you'll get more marks for stuff that you've made, but like he was talking about, will teachers be replaced by robots? Well, he just uses a video, and he says, well, as you see on minute 4, Ken Robinson talks about this, and then the video starts. So you can use both, is to answer your question.
Okay, that's fab. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? So just pass on.
This is due on.
Go on.
Oh, I was going to say, this is due on the 2nd, am I right?
You probably missed that on the train, Caitlin. No, you've got till the 3rd because it's a bank holiday.
Oh, okay, then there is a day extra.
The 3rd, it does cover you for the placement as well. But again, if you could pass on to people that the exam boards are in June, so we need basically all of your marks. I was explaining before. We review them. We sit around a big table. We look at everyone's marks in year 1. If anyone's missing any marks, they have to retrieve them. It's called retrievals in the summer. You can't pass and proceed to year 2 until you've passed every single module. So if you're trailing any marks, if you don't have a full suite of marks, as they call it, you'll have to do them in the summer. You have 2 more attempts in the summer because you've got 3 in total. You can't go through to year 2 until you've passed everything. And obviously, if you fail this module, hopefully no one's going to do that. But if you do, you need to obviously resit that in the summer. But all marks ideally need to be in before the exam without talking about retrievals. So that's why if people are thinking about extensions, because it's the 3rd of May, it's really close to when the exam boards are. So if you could just pass on to people, they need to let me know. Hopefully we won't have many because we've given you loads of time for this assignment. So. But I think that's it. So, yeah, if you've got any questions, any problems, any issues, obviously you can message to the end of this week. But then we got Easter break. I'm away. I think most of the team are away, because obviously we haven't had a break or anything. So that's why I'm just stressing now. Any questions, have a go at doing this blog, because I think the main problem people are going to have is using Creative Cloud. And just get people, I would message all the groups if you could, set your blog up this week, because if you've got any issues, I can help you this week. If you've got issues next week, I'm not here. So there we go. All right, I'll share this. It'll probably take a bit of time to record. I'll put it on YouTube and I'll share it on our assessment page. Make sure you have an awesome Easter. I'll hopefully see you lot for some summer projects. And there's some reps here. We'll aim for the 3rd to have it on campus, but I know people like Dan can't make it, so we might have a mix of on campus and online for the reps meeting.
Sounds like a plan.
Cool. Have a lovely Easter. Anyone got any major plans? Anyone going anywhere? Doing anything?
Going to be sorting my son out. He's moving schools.
Oh, wow. I've just been told, as my kids are getting on the bus today, they got to make Easter bonnets by tomorrow. I'm just like, why?
Good luck.
Making an Easter bonnet. Yes. Okay. Have a nice Easter all. See you soon.
And you. Take care. Cheers, Nick.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Ta-da.
Thanks, Nick. Bye.